The brutal gang rape of a 23-year-old medical student has shaken up India, perhaps also revealing the dark side of the modern India. To talk about that and a lot more, world-renowned economist Dr. Amartya Sen is with us here on NDTV. Dr. Sen, many thanks for sparing time to talk to us.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Dr. Amartya Sen, has the incident of the gang rape, the recent gang rape, changed India forever?
I don't think the incident in itself has, but the fact that at long last we are responding to it has, because there have been terrible brutalities against women for a very long time, and you can see the big difference that recognizing what's going on has made. You found very little of that in the newspapers, and now in a standard mainstream daily you will get about 4 or 5 pages of rape stories, which indicates what was there. There has not been a jump up of that, but there has been a recognition which was badly lacking as to how terrible the atrocities against women might be. Not everywhere necessarily across the country. It varies a lot, even between cities, one city and another. In this case, it happened in Delhi, which has a particularly bad record on that.
Right.
But it has gone into the consciousness of people, and that's certainly a very positive thing. On the other hand, the fact that it is a positive thing indicates how much ground has to be covered.
Absolutely.
And which had been neglected.
A lot of ground has been neglected, clearly, Dr. Sen, but first to talk about the real contradiction that exists in our country right now. Here we are talking about India on the global high table, a country that's making tremendous economic progress. On the other hand, we continue to treat our women as second-class citizens.
I think in order to have a reality check, it's not the case that rape or gang rape is unknown in the rest of the world. That's not the case.
Right.
It's just that it has no business to be there in democratic India, in democratic modern India. And given that, it's very important that rightful recognition is given to the lapses from that standard, without claiming that India uniquely figures worst in this subject than all other countries in the world. That's not the case. I think the economic development obviously is very important, because we all need more income to lead a decent life, and India is one of the poorest countries in the world.
Right.
But we have to say how that income change is brought about. Not only whether growth is important, but what causes growth. So there are two different issues. Can human development, in addition to raising people's living conditions, raise economic growth? Indeed, and that is why Kerala, Himachal, and Tamil Nadu are now so much richer than Gujarat too. But on top of that, you have to ask the question, can along with expansion of female education, will that reduce to the discrimination against girls as far as survival after birth is concerned?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
All the statistical evidence is in that direction. So when it comes to gender, women's education, women's health care, taking immunization, we have a immunization rate barely in the 60s, whereas Bangladesh already had 96%. I think we have neglected that. So I think all these make a big difference to living conditions.
Dr. Amartya Sen, if we try and understand if the kind of economic development, economic progress a country like India is making is going hand in hand with social progress, because an incident like the gang rape perhaps raises those very deep-rooted questions.
It does, but I wish people recognize something broader than that in the gang rape thing. Gang rape of Dalit women have been going on for a very long time,
right,
in very large number.
Right.
It hadn't got the kind of attention in the media that the present one did, which happens to people who belong to the same kind of class that you and I do.
Right. Or is it the brutality of the gang rape that has...
It was partly that. It was
right,
a real brutality, but some of the brutalities against Dalit women have been really brutal,
right,
including in death. Terrible brutalities happen without their being reported. Now, I think it's absolutely salutary that India has responded the way it has. gang rape.
But do you see change really happening because of that?
Well, it's too early to say
Okay.
on that, because of the fact that that it depends on. I would like to see it to be a pro-women position, no matter which class you come from.
Okay.
Whether you're training to be a medical doctor, or whether you're training to be a landless laborer, or the wife of a landless laborer.
But Dr. Sen, also the fact that perhaps part of the debate is that if this is what happens, if women in the capital of the country are not safe, and this is what happens in the capital city, just imagine what happens in the rest of India. And that's part of the larger debate as well, that this is not just about women in the metro cities, but women across the country.
It is. But you know, even though I'm a modernist in many ways, it's not the case that these brutalities are much more in the rural areas standardly than against urban areas. Many of them have a feature of urban brutality, not across the country.
In fact, we've had a political statement coming that this happens only in India and it does not happen in Bharat. You know, so that.
Well, I think that is somewhat of a misleading statement. Also, any generalization is. Also, the fact that it happens much more in Delhi than it happens, say, in Trivandrum or Calcutta, also indicates a division which is not an urban division.
Right.
It's a different kind of division,
right.
Not unrelated to the fact that sex-specific abortion clinics in Calcutta are not very high in number, and Trivandrum doesn't exist.
Right.
And so I think you have to take totality. It's a
combination.
It's a big combination factor. Ruralness, urbanness makes a difference, particularly non-reporting.
Right.
I think it's not so much that the brutalities are greater in the rural areas, but brutalities against rural women, especially Dalit rural women or tribal rural women, will get far less of chance of being reported than that's happening in Delhi. The fact that women's deprivation, the quiet violence, is receiving unquiet attention now is wonderful, and we should not have to apologize those who say that we are making too much of an excitement about it. I think they're absolutely wrong. But we have to spread it.
Okay.
And bring in the tremendous violence against the lower caste women and tribal women, that much more into the picture than they have come into the picture yet in media attention.